Have you ever wondered how a child learns to carry the weight of a family? Not because they were asked, but because silence left them no other choice. Picture this: a living room in the middle of the night. The television hums softly. Shadows stretch long across the walls. And in the corner sits a child, small, still, wide-eyed. Their name is Eli. While the house echoes with arguments, with unspoken grief, with doors slammed shut, Eli stays quiet, watching, waiting, learning, without ever being taught, that survival means becoming invisible, that love means carrying burdens too heavy for small shoulders. This is the story of the child who became the family's secret hero. And maybe, in their story, you'll see a mirror of your own. Eli was 8 when he first noticed the cracks. A father whose eyes grew heavy with exhaustion. A mother who sometimes disappeared into silence, curled up on the couch, lost in her own storms. The house wasn't cruel. It wasn't always loud, but it was unpredictable. And unpredictability can be just as heavy as pain. Children like Eli sense it. Like little barometers, they feel every shift in pressure. So Eli did what many children do. He became the caretaker. When his younger sister cried, Eli wiped her tears. When his mother forgot to eat, Eli brought her toast. When his father's temper flared, Eli learned to distract, to soften the moment, to make himself useful. He learned that being good wasn't about toys or gold stars. It was about keeping the fragile threads of the family from breaking. But here's the secret. No one noticed, because Eli's strength blended into the background. Adults praised him for being mature for his age, but they never asked why he had to be. And so, a hero was born. But not the kind who wears a cape, the kind who hides in the shadows, saving everyone else, while losing sight of himself. Psychologists have a name for this pattern. It's called the parentified child. It happens when kids step into adult roles, caretaker, peacekeeper, emotional anchor, because the adults in their lives cannot. At first it looks like responsibility, like resilience, like strength, but beneath it lies something heavier, a stolen childhood. Eli didn't get to be messy, loud, or needy. He learned to silence his own emotions because someone else's storm always came first. Over time, this creates what's called a false self, a mask, a performance. The child learns, if I am strong, helpful, calm, then I am safe, then I am loved. And the real self, the messy, vulnerable, soft self, gets buried deep in the shadows. This is how a child becomes a secret hero. Not because they want to, but because they feel they have to. Now imagine Eli grown up. At 25, at 35, maybe even 50. On the outside, people admire him. He's dependable. He works hard. He's the one friends call when life falls apart. He always shows up, always carries the weight. But inside, he is tired. He struggles to ask for help. He feels guilty when he rests. He doesn't know what it feels like to simply exist without proving his worth. Relationships? They're complicated. He's drawn to people who need saving, partners who take more than they give, bosses who exploit his work ethic, friends who lean but rarely lift. And Eli, like so many others, smiles through it all. Because the mask has fused to his skin, because being the hero is all he's ever known. But the cost? Burnout. Anxiety, loneliness, even in a crowded room. A quiet ache that whispers, when will someone finally take care of me? Think of it like a stage. As a child, Eli stepped onto the stage not to perform, but to keep the play from falling apart. He learned his lines. Be strong. Be calm. Be useful. And the audience, the family, clapped. But behind the curtains, Eli sat alone in the dark. hungry for someone to notice the tears he never let fall. The mask of the hero shines bright under the spotlight, but it is heavy. So heavy. It's like carrying a lantern in a cave, lighting the way for everyone else, but never stopping long enough to see that his own hands are trembling in the dark. But here's the part the child never hears. It is not your job to carry the world. Healing begins when Eli starts to notice the mask, to ask, what did I need back then that I never got? To allow himself to feel anger, sadness, even joy, without shame. The path isn't easy. It requires unlearning years of silence, but it begins with small, radical steps. Awareness, recognizing the role you were forced to play. Boundaries, learning that no is not rejection, but self-respect. Self-compassion, treating yourself with the same care you gave others. Support, therapy, trusted friends, spaces where your needs are heard. And slowly, the mask begins to loosen. The stage lights dim, and the child within finally steps out of the shadows. Not as a hero, not as a savior, but simply as themselves. Maybe as you listen, you recognize pieces of Eli inside yourself. Maybe you too became the family's secret hero. Maybe you learned to smile while carrying storms no one saw. Maybe you still feel guilty for wanting rest, for longing to be held. If that's you, hear this. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not invisible. You are worthy, not because of what you carry, but because of who you are. You don't have to save everyone. You don't have to perform. You don't have to wear the mask forever. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be loved without earning it. You are allowed to exist, simply and beautifully, as yourself. And if no one has told you lately, let me be the one to say it. You matter. You are not alone, and you deserve a life where you no longer have to be the secret hero.